Hey everyone, my name's Kirby. Welcome to my channel. This is my first video, and let's just get right into the intro. Hey everyone, before we start, I just want to give a shout out to someone real quick. This guy who made the intro for me. His name's Andrew Lindley. This dude freaking killed it. He is so good, so talented. Check out his stuff. I'm going to put his Instagram in the description below. Please check him out for me. So a couple days ago, I did an Instagram poll and I asked people if they want to see photo editing on an iPhone, ways to enhance and get better at that, or if they want to see cheap ways to do audio. Well, guess what? Both are going to see a video on it, but today we're going to do photo editing on an iPhone. So first we're going to jump into it right now. So we're going to go right into the photo app. We're going to look up the first photo I want to show you. Disregard the memes on here, even though they are hilarious. Let me just show you one real quick. Oh my gosh. Have y'all seen Tiger King? Anyways, we're going to look at this first photo and I'm going to show you how I edited it in the photo app. So click edit. I already have edited a little bit, so I'm going to show you how I did this. But first, I'm going to just erase all the work I did. Ever done that before? Well, there you go. Revert to original. Whoa, does that look different? So first thing we're going to do, we're going to click edit. And we're going to look at it. So they have an auto button. I describe it as like autocorrect. I hate autocorrect, and I think it's useful sometimes if I need to get things done. But it never gets what I want out of it. So we're just going to skip auto and we're going to go right into manual. First thing you're going to do is exposure. So this photo right here is already well lit. I think it's a little too well lit. So I'm actually going to bring the exposure down. So if you think it's just too bright, you can bring the exposure down just like that. You're going to swipe. Next is the brilliance. Don't really worry about that. You can play around again after this video and see what you like, what you don't like in every aspect of the app. But I'm just going to show you just a few things on this photo app to really enhance and give detail to your photos. So we're gonna look at the highlights. So think of it as like, have you ever taken a photo of someone and behind them was the sky and it was really bright and overexposed? Well, you could use the highlights actually to dim the sky and actually make it look like a normal sky, not like, you know, heaven shining on earth, even though that would be a good thing. Maybe we wouldn't want to change that, but we are gonna change on this photo. So we're going to bring down the highlights and look, oh my gosh, I'm not pale anymore. I mean, my neck is, but at least my face isn't. So it's already looking a little bit, the skin's actually looking a little bit more natural than it was before. See, I'm gonna bring it back up to 0. And it's just kind of white and pale, but if I bring it down to about 50, well, there you go. I got a little bit of orange, pink. I have some life in me a little bit. So we'll move on to the shadows. I think things aren't defined enough, so I'm gonna boost the shadows just a little bit by swiping left. And look at that. It already kind of just makes it a little bit moodier and just looks cooler. Next, we're going to go into contrast. Kind of does the same thing, but it does on both ends of the spectrum. So we're going to swipe a little bit. I'm going to go to let's go to 10. I don't need to do too much with this photo. Look, this photo is already getting a lot better. So brightness, we're going to do this. We don't need to do brightness. I already underexposed the photo that was originally in the first part, so we don't really need to mess with brightness, but you might. So make sure to mess with this part of the app whenever you do a photo edit on here. So black point, we're going to skip that. Saturation. I already think the colors are good enough. I don't need to mess with saturation really. I'm going to probably just boost it up just a tad, just to give it a little bit more color, but nothing more than about 5 or 7. You don't need to do too much. Again, we're trying to enhance the photo. We're not trying to totally change the photo. Now we're going to go into vibrance. Again, I like vibrance a lot more than saturation. I don't think it destroys the image as much as saturation does. So I'm actually going to boost this up a little bit more than most people might. Wow, it's already looking really good. So we're going to go to warmth. So warmth, if I go to one end, it's blue. The other end, it's orange. Orange, I can see, I'm blind, not colorblind. That's orange. Orange, and then now blue. So we're going to bring that right there to 0. I like how it is. We don't need to change it. You might, if you have a colder toned photo, or if you have a warmer toned photo, you might want to switch to the other side of the warmth. Next is tint. It's kind of like green and purple Hulk colors. I already have a little bit of purple in here, so I don't think it would be redundant to do any changes to that. So here's sharpness. Now, if your photo is just a tad bit out of focus, this is going to help out a lot. If your photo is completely out of focus, you're probably just going to need to take a new photo. Sorry about that. But first, we're going to zoom into my face, and I'm going to show you what this does. So I took this actually a screenshot on a video. So that might be why it looks a little pixelated, but if I bring up the sharpness right there, you can actually see my eyes really clearly. So I'm going to zoom out and just see how it looks. Wow, that looks pretty decent. I think it's a little too sharp, so I'm going to bring it down to 30, but that looks pretty good. So again, it can this photo app, just straight from the iPhone, can really just enhance your photos very quickly. You just mess around just a little bit, and you can really enhance a photo. I'm going to go over definition. That's not important. Noise reduction. Now, if you took a photo that's a little too dark, or maybe your settings are off on your camera, this might come in handy. It might smooth things out for you, so then it doesn't look so noisy. A little noise isn't too bad, but you don't want a lot of noise. You might just need to retake a photo and call it over on that photo that has a lot of noise in it, unless that's what you're going for. But anyways, we're going to go on to vignette. So I see a lot of vignette photos, and I see a lot of people use it very harshly. I'm going to show you a look when I use it very harshly. It just totally, I think, ruins the image. Some people might think, no, that looks cool, but it's forced. You don't want to force people into looking at a particular space. I mean, you do if that's intentional, but you don't want to make it known. You want to hint at it. So I'm going to bring it down, and I'm actually just going to do 20. See, now let's go from 20 to 0. And see how that's not that bad? Like, you can't really tell that there's a vignette. I mean, you could if you really looked for it. But I think this really helps bring the focus and everything without being so known about it. So the next photo we're going to look at is actually a photo I took at work. It's to promo a new coffee drink called Vietnamese iced coffee. It's about a couple months ago, but I did this actually directly from my phone on the app Lightroom. So if you don't have Lightroom, it's actually free for the mobile. I recommend you download it and go along with me as I do this edit. So we're going to go right to Lightroom. Already have the photo popped up. And as you can see, this photo looks pretty good already. It's in focus. There's good shallow depth of field, everything like that. There's no noise. There's none of that negative stuff. But I feel like if I saw this photo, I would just look over it, even though it's a nicely taken photo. There's nothing about it that pops. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna really make this photo pop using Lightroom. So first thing is exposure, just like the photo app, but this has a little bit more things added to it since it's a more professional app. So actually with this photo, I think it's exposed pretty well, so I'm not going to mess with that. I want to mess with the contrast though. I really want to make the coffee pouring into the ice really, really, really noticeable. So I'm going to bring up that contrast just a little bit. It doesn't look like it did much now, but later on as we go, you're going to see a big difference. Highlights, like I explained earlier, it just kind of reveals a little bit more that might be hidden because of the light. So we're going to bring that down just a little bit, because you can see in the corners, there's some green, there's some blue there, because the person wearing a jacket, green with the grass outside. The shadows, again, I want to kind of make everything known, so I'm going to bring down the shadows just a little bit. And then the whites, I think the whites are fine, and the blacks, I'm going to bring down the blacks a little bit, just to make the blacks a little bit more black. Next, we're going to go into color. So this is the part that's really different from the photo app. With the photo app, you really couldn't change colors. You could change all the colors. You can make them more saturated. You can make them more vibrant. But here, you can actually just do one particular color. So we're going to click Mix, and there's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, and lighter blue. I didn't put them in the right order because I don't have a script. But anyway, we're going to look at the oranges real quick because that's the most prominent color I think I can see here. So watch me bring down the oranges all the way with the middle saturation. It's almost completely black. See, that's the power of just editing one color. I'm gonna bring it back to normal, but I actually really like the color. Kind of looks like the coffee looks very caramely, and I really like that color. I think that the table though that it's on is just a little too brown, so I might take some reds and bring it down just a tad, just to make it not so strong. I mean, yes, we want to make this photo pop, but we don't want the table to look more saturated than the coffee, because then it's going to bring more attention to the table. So the next thing I'm going to do is the yellows. I'm going to really bring up the yellows just a tad, just to help out that coffee look really good. So you see that blue up there real quick? You see it's someone wearing a jean jacket. I don't really want that there because I don't want it to be taken away from you looking at the coffee. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click the blue, the dark blue one. And I'm going to bring it all the way down. And look, blue's almost gone. It might be actually too much for me, so I might just bring it up just a tad. I just don't want the blue to be really prominent. I want you to look at the coffee, not at the jean jacket. That's out of focus. Next, the grass. Now, for the same particular reason, I'm actually not going to do the same thing with the jean jacket. I actually want to improve the grass, but I want it to look not dead. So I want to give it some life. So we're going to actually just bring up the saturation a little bit. And you see on the top part with the hue, you can make it look yellow or green or a darker green. I'm going to make it look a darker green. And I think that's going to help it just look a tad bit more lively. Sweet. I think that looks good. So here's all the colors. I don't think we need to mess with any other colors. So we're just going to keep going on to temperature. I think the photo's warm enough. I'm not going to mess with it. Now we have the tint, green and blue, or I mean green and purple. We don't really need to mess with that either. The photo is clearly saturated well. Next we have vibrance. I'm going to bring up the vibrance just a little bit just to enhance everything. Right, like that. But I just don't want to make it look funkier out of normal. Saturation, I'm going to keep the same as well. Effects. Now we got some texture going on. So I'm going to zoom in the photo. As you see this color, right? So I'm going to bring up the texture exactly how it sounds. This is why I like this app, because you get what it says. Texture, it's going to mess with the texture. Highlights, it's going to mess with the highlights. Contrast, it's going to contrast. Color red, it's going to change the color red. So I'm going to bring up the texture just a tad, but not too much. I'm going to probably bring it down to, oh, sorry, I changed clarity. I'm going to bring it down to 28. And then the clarity I'm going to bring up as well, just to make sure you can really notice the texture of the coffee. Dehaze is exactly how it sounds. This photo's in focus. Don't really need to dehaze anything. Well, here comes the vignette. So with the vignette, right here, I'm actually going to change it just a little bit more to the right. And I think that just brings the coffee right into focus. That might just be a little too much, actually. Let's bring it down just a tad to 10. That's good. Midpoint, feather, roundness. Those are just things to change your vignette if you want to make it more in or more taken out, more oval shaped, more circle shaped. Just however you want to customize that. I don't really mess with that too much unless I need to. Grain, if you wanted to add some grain, some people like that effect. For this particular photo, I don't think it's going to work just because there's a lot of blacks. Next is the detail part. So sharpening, it's already sharpened a little bit because I was messing with it a little bit earlier. I don't really need to sharpen it too much since I actually did a lot of texture. So I'm going to actually bring down the sharpening. Noise reduction, it was taken well lit. Don't really need any noise reduction, but if I did, this would help out a whole lot. So there's a couple different ways right there for you on the photo app and the Lightroom app to really just enhance and pop your photos and give it a little bit more professional look without doing as much work as the professionals. Thank you so much for joining me on my first YouTube video. I'm so stoked that you're here. Please subscribe if you want to get notified about more videos I'm uploading. I upload every Monday and every Thursday. We're going to do more tutorial videos like an audio video on Monday, but I'm also going to do movie reviews and some other things. So just please check it out. Please like, subscribe, share. Thank you so much. See you next time.